welcome to the SVG-TV Evening News for Thursday, November 7th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. With a seat on the UN Security Council, SVG will be in a great position to take a leading role to lobby on behalf of Caribbean countries and other countries worldwide on a range of issues which affect them. So says UWI Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, as he spoke at a forum today under the theme Small States in Global Governance, discussing SVG's historic appointment to the UN Security Council earlier this year. Delivering remarks which were broadcast in member states through various media platforms, the Vice Chancellor said the UN Security Council is an institution with the potential to craft a new development paradigm for the 21st century in terms of economic relations of the world, the political narrative on equality and infrastructure of democracy. Sir Hilary said SVG's achievement doesn't come as a surprise to him, given the country's historical past in terms of its centrality in global affairs, its fight against colonization, genocide, and slavery. He said SVG's appointment to the Council is indeed a historic one and can now lead the way in crafting a new development paradigm.
Was at the center of the pushback against colonization, genocide, slavery. And St. Vincent has a special and peculiar DNA within global diplomacy. And from there, moving through with the Garifuna people to establish the politics of resilience in the face of global aggression. So it has a unique and peculiar history. And this is the history that Prime Minister Gonzalez has brought forward into the 21st century to suggest that there must be a dignified place for small nations, for resilient nations, and for the voice of intellect. Because, you know, oftentimes we conflate small spaces with small intellect. But while history shows on the contrary, it is the other way around. Small nations are distinguishing themselves and have always done so with the force of their intellectual power and the courage to engage the world. So this is a significant moment at multiple levels.
The UWI Vice Chancellor said SVG's achievement also presents an opportunity for regional countries and others worldwide to ensure justice for humanity in the future.
The triumph of Caribbean leadership and in the diplomacy of Prime Minister Gonzalez. But the significance resides in the fact that we are now well positioned to argue and to win support on multiple conversations to shape what is going to be a 21st century development paradigm for the world. And I wish to congratulate the Prime Minister Gonzalez, not only for the skill and the persistence of his global diplomacy, but also too because of it recognizes the power of the Caribbean courage when mobilized to look into the future and to be a part of the major decision making. So this is very significant and this is very historic. And I wish to invite everyone in the Caribbean, in the world, to let us have a robust discourse about 21st century development paradigms at multiple levels. And let us see what role small nations can play in dialogue with larger nations, more developed economic structures to create justice for humanity going into this 21st century. Thank you very much.
Also delivering remarks at today's forum was Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who said issues relating to climate change and its impact on security and upholding international law are two of the major issues which SVG is looking forward to lobby on as it takes up its seat on the Council in January 2020. Highlighting the issue of international law, PM Gonsalves said there is a class of international leaders who wish to make unilateral decisions which impact negatively on small island states and looks forward to championing the cause of these states.
Exercise hegemony across the whole world. And wants to intervene in every way, which way they want to, and to where they want to weaponize trade and weaponize the banking system, and where they want to have intervention here and there, militarily and otherwise. I mean, this is entirely unacceptable, and they want to do so without going through multilateral agencies like the United Nations, and they want to act in a hegemonic, unilateralist way. That is entirely unacceptable, because that is the law of the jungle. And we have to uphold the principles of international law in the same way that weak persons in Jamaica, disadvantaged persons in St. Vincent and elsewhere, depend on their own law, their own domestic law to protect them. In the same way, we rely on international law and the precepts undergirding international law to protect us.
Dean of the Division of Technical Vocational Education of the SVG Community College, Osborne Bowens, said the education system needs to do more for those who have dropped out of the formal school system. Bowens was at the time addressing a graduation ceremony yesterday of the 2019 Youth Employability Skills Training Program. He said while the current education system continues to have some success, a few students have fallen between the cracks, and that more must be done to help these persons gain a skill.
The current education revolution as is does perform a function in terms of moving people to a place where they finish an education and they get some sort of job, they get employed. But those who are unable to finish and those who are unable to complete an education are at a significant disadvantage. And here is where the system, the education system, must reinvent itself to be able to position these young people so that they can take up some sort of employment, having missed out on the traditional education system. I understand that the current education system, now we are moving skills into the secondary schools, very good, and a very good initiative, but more has to be done to capture the many young people who have left the system already and are unable to find themselves some sort of employment. So that's a challenge, and that's one that we must address and continue to address. And the Mustic Charitable Foundation, again, is helping to address that particular situation.
Electrical installation, refrigeration, and masonry are vocational fields which are dominated by males. However, the Minister of National Mobilization said gender inclusion is the watchword and encouraged females to get involved in these fields as well.
We need electricians, we need masons and carpenters. And young women as well have to get involved in these areas. There was once a young lady here, but she unfortunately died in an accident overseas, who was an excellent mason. You see her climbing the walls and plastering and putting up blocks. Excellent female mason. I'm saying this to say to you that we have to have equal opportunities, because we are speaking about inclusiveness and equality among gender.
The Youth Employability Skills Training Program has been funded for the second year by the Mustic Charitable Foundation, which has so far invested over $200,000 in the programs, which consist of training, courses, and bursaries. Children across the Eastern Caribbean continue to benefit from the medical missions conducted by the World Pediatric Project here in SVG. This week, a team of 7 orthopedic surgeons conducted a clinic where 24 children were seen, with 8 children identified as needing surgical intervention. Those selected for surgery include 5 children from St. Lucia and 1 from Antigua and 1 from Dominica. Lead surgeon Dr. Robert Tutton said the children selected were all treated with care, and he is happy that there were no complications with the surgical procedures.
All of the kids have had significant spinal curvature that has, required surgery. So every surgery was a significant surgery. We've done 7 cases so far. We have 1 more to go, and it's been always a pleasure to work with Drs. Dada, Willis, Ellis, and Santiago here. No complications. Everyone's doing well. the kids are all very brave, and the families are very kind, and everyone's doing well.
This is not the first medical mission for Dr. Tootin, who stressed the importance of doing follow-up checkups, particularly for children diagnosed with spinal curvature.
They need to, keep their regular appointments with their pediatrician, and a good pediatrician is going to screen for scoliosis just like they would screen for a heart problem or a, breathing issue or something like that. So, I think all the kids need to keep their pediatric appointments so they get their shots and, their regular health care. But the scoliosis is something that's picked up, usually routinely and followed. And if the cases get severe, then we are here to help.
On November 30th, 2019, the WPP, with the support of the BFIT movement SVG, will host the event dubbed 5K Sweat to Heal a Child. The drive is to raise funds for the Every Child Counts campaign in order to continue supporting community-based growth in SVG and the Eastern Caribbean, and to expand its reach and ability to assist more children, not just locally, but regionally. As of December 1st, 2019, a total ban will be placed on parrotfish harvesting. The parrotfish eats algae and dead coral and spends up to 90% of its day nibbling. The excretion of a single parrotfish can produce up to 700 pounds of sand each year. Minister of Fisheries Saboto Caesar said the country's achievements in protecting turtles, preventing the illegal trade of the Union Island gecko, the repatriation of 3 of our national birds, and soon a ban on the harvesting of the parrotfish is an indication that SVG is truly Mother Nature's paradise. Even though shark fin fishing is not practiced in SVG, a legal framework will be put in place to outlaw this method of fishing here, in support of the global conservation efforts promoted by the United Nations. Shark fin fishing is the custom in some countries where thousands of sharks are caught, the fins are removed, and the balance of the shark's body is thrown back into the sea. This threatens the global shark population and is seen as an unsustainable use of an important marine resource. In its first year of operation, the Sexual Offences Unit of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is reporting that it has investigated a total of 176 sexual assaults, of which 90 arrests were made and 2 completed trials, which have resulted in convictions and custodial sentences in both cases. Station Sergeant Desreen Days, who is in charge of the unit, told SVG-TV News during a telephone interview that it is an accomplishment for the unit, which was tasked to deal with sexual abuse cases.
I am happy to say that for those trials, we got convictions in the sense of custodial sentences for those offenders. So it is evident that we are making headway and we are trying to fulfill the mandate that was tasked on us by the Commissioner of Police. I have a dedicated staff of 8 persons, and we are doing our best to deplete the amount of sexual offences in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. To get the victims to speak up, and not just the victims. We want the general public to speak up also, because the Children Care and Adoption Act of 2010 dictates mandatory reporting for all cases of assault against children. So even the general public has a responsibility.
Despite the success, Sergeant Days said they continue to battle with uncooperative parents and guardians.
It has been a challenging year. Some of the challenges which we have experienced are with parents who are not very cooperative. When that happens, we work with child protection officers within the social welfare department. We have also encountered victims who have refused to go forward with cases because they are afraid of the stigma which is attached to sexual assault, of being judged by the public, and more so being re-victimized. So we have some special provisions in place for that. For example, a victim does not even have to walk into a police station to report a matter. They can call us at 45-34599 and they can report the matter to us, and we would make arrangements to meet them somewhere where they are comfortable, and then we will move from there.
Community outreach activities are in the pipeline for the unit, and Sergeant Days is appealing to persons to make reports and speak up against sexual abuse, noting that failing to do so in itself is an offense.
Care and Adoption Act of 2010 dictates mandatory reporting for all cases of assault against children. So for parents who know that your child is being molested or assaulted, who have not reported the matter, it is a criminal offense, and you can be fined on conviction in the first instance up to $5,000 or in prison for 3 months.
The Sexual Offences Unit is carrying out a number of activities in observance of its first-year anniversary under the theme, See Something, Say Something, Stop All Sexual Abuse. The World Needs a Father is a global movement that is encouraging men to take their roles and responsibilities as fathers seriously to reduce some of the broken young men and women in today's society. With this in mind, Project Men 2020, in collaboration with the World Needs a Father movement, will host a Trainer of Trainers seminar on the essentials of fathering as part of celebrations leading up to International Men's Day on November 19th. In an interview with SVG-TV News, Professor Courtney Richards of the World Needs a Father movement said that men have neglected their roles, which have helped to create dysfunctional homes not only in SVG, but globally.
Men. Isn't that sad that our young men, 15 to 25, those are the people who should be going to university, getting married, starting families, and instead they're in prison, they're in jail. 15 to 25-year-olds make up over 50% of the prison population. Boys are more likely to drop out of school who don't have their fathers in their lives. Boys and girls are more likely to become teenage fathers and mothers if they don't have their fathers in their lives. Boys do not do as well in school as against those who have their fathers in their lives. Mathematics, you do better in mathematics. Both boys and girls do better in mathematics and the sciences if they have their father involved in their lives. And why is that so? The research says because the greatest quality to learn mathematics, which is challenging for most of our children, is patience. You have to be patient. You have to work at it day in, day out. And when you have your father in your life putting his hand on your shoulder, he may not even know what you're doing, but at least he reassures you and affirms the child, the boy or the girl, and says, you can do it.
Professor Richards, who is a mentor for hundreds of young men and women around the world, emphasized the need to train men to become trainers in SVG so they too can start a movement that would impact positively on their colleagues.
It's not to beat up on men, it's to say, we're here to help you. We're not here to beat up men, we're here to say, men, we want to help you. We want to put some tool in your hand. We want to mentor you. We want to help you be a better man, be a better father. So we look at those statistics and realize, both boys and girls are suffering. The girls have babies, teenage babies. They don't trust men. They don't believe that. They tell me. In the Caribbean, I travel from island to island. Men are dogs. They're all the same. And I'm like, I'm not a dog. And I know a lot who are not dogs, So don't buy into that stereotype. But they said, well, here's my story. And you can understand with great sympathy if you're used and you end up with 5 children with different fathers. That's tough to overcome. And so it starts with the fathers.
Event coordinator of the upcoming training seminar, Alex Altidore, said they are looking to train 25 men who would be able to pass on what they learned to other men about the essentials of fathering.
Surprise you that there are a lot of young men, and there are even a lot of big men who are crying in the 50s, in the 60s. I want my daddy. They never had a daddy in their lives. I heard of a guy who killed his daddy, ended up in prison. While in prison, the warden heard him crying for the same daddy he killed.
Wow.
There is a need. We were wired to have daddies. That's a need that we have, a great need. And when that need is not met, it destroys us.
Yeah.
It creates a deficiency in our lives. And that is why we have a lot of insecure young ladies and a lot of angry youths, young men.
Young men, yeah.
And they are displaying that anger in multiple ways, many ways, different.
The training seminar, which is geared to all interested men, involved interested men involved in working with men and male-focused groups and organizations, will be held at the VinSafe Child Care Center commencing on Tuesday, November 12th and going until Saturday, November 16th.